Single mom's heartbreaking decision revealed. CEO steps up to cover $50,000 formula costs in secret. Every morning in the vibrant Midwestern town, the sun rises over small houses with peeling paint and neatly trimmed lawns. Among them, Sarah, a determined single mother, starts her day before dawn. At 29, with a newborn daughter, Emma, she is caught in an exhausting cycle, working long hours as a waitress at the local diner and squeezing in freelance graphic design projects whenever she can. The clinking of plates fills the diner as she serves her customers, painting on a smile that hides her worries. With baby formula prices skyrocketing, the fear grips her heart. What if she can't afford to feed Emma? On her porch one evening, the warm breeze barely eases her tension. She sips her coffee, eyes fixed on the stars flickering in the dusky sky. Next door sits Ben, a retired Army vet. As they chat, Sarah pulls back the curtain on her struggles, her vulnerable heart pouring out. They share a raw moment, layers of pain and resilience veiling their thoughtful exchange. They both know the sting of financial strain, and the comfort they find in each other's understanding is bittersweet but necessary. Streetlights flicker above them, illuminating the silent battles that resonate in households across America. Meanwhile, Jack, a childhood friend turned CEO, learns about Sarah's plight through social media. As someone who has reveled in the American dream, living a life of success and comfort, a pang of guilt strikes him. He remembers Sarah's laughter, their carefree days, and suddenly, the distance between their worlds seems impossible to bear. Charged with empathy, he decides to take action, quietly stepping in to cover Sarah's escalating costs for baby formula. To him, it's a gesture of goodwill to aid friends when they fall on hard times, even if it means he keeps it a secret. At first, Sarah feels a wave of relief wash over her when her financial burden lightens, a feeling like a warm hug in a pouring rainstorm. Yet, an unsettling unease dangles in her chest. She wrestles with her pride, the nagging thought that she has to face the whispers of judgment if anyone knew. Is it truly okay to accept help when so many believe in pulling themselves up by their bootstraps? Could vulnerability be the ticket to breaking barriers and fostering community connections? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As life continues, the tipping point arrives when Sarah discovers Jack's quiet acts of kindness. A swirling storm of betrayal and gratitude clashes in her chest. Their unexpected reunion brings feelings she thought long buried, words left unspoken hang heavily in the air. Standing face to face, she feels the weight of their shared past, her heart aching not just over her struggles but for the connection they once had. Why didn't you tell me? Sarah's voice trembles, uncertainty thickening the atmosphere. Jack's eyes are filled with remorse and a flicker of hope as they stand on the precipice of understanding. Can forgiveness bridge the chasm life has carved between them? Will kindness rooted in their past restore what feels lost? Silence swells around them, questions left dangling as both characters teeter toward potential redemption, waiting for the next step that could change everything. Sarah's heart raced. The night air was thick with unspoken tension. She had trusted Jack, once upon a time, and now, here he stood, her pillar of hope wrapped in a secret that felt like betrayal. She clenched her fists, the warmth of surprise fading to uncertainty. Honestly? Jack began, his voice barely above a whisper, I couldn't bear to see you struggle. I wanted to help without pushing you aside, or making it feel like charity. His sincerity radiated from him, yet it felt like a double-edged sword, slicing through the delicate fabric of their friendship. And what about your pride? She countered, her own voice shaking. I'm just supposed to accept your help, pretend it's nothing. I thought his brows knitted together. I thought you'd see it as support. We're friends, remember? Friends help each other. Sarah took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. The memories of their laughter echoed in her mind, the warmth of Jack's friendship sustaining her through lonely nights. But friendship felt so different now, infused with complexities she hadn't anticipated. Feelings she had buried beneath layers of desperation began to resurface. Friends, yes. Sarah's voice faltered slightly. But it's different now. It's my life. My daughter. Jack stepped closer, urgency in his tone. And I want to be there for you and Emma, if you'll let me. Hopes flickered in his eyes, igniting Sarah's dormant feelings into vivid flames. What if I told you I'm afraid? She whispered, the truth slipping out like a soft confession. Afraid of being a burden. Afraid I can't make it work. The vulnerability poured out, and at that moment, the walls she had built around herself began to crumble. Jack reached out, gently taking her hand. The warmth from his touch surged through her, a promise of something more. You're not a burden, Sarah. You're a warrior. And it's okay to need help sometimes. It doesn't mean you've failed. Tears pricked at the corners of her eyes, the weight of her struggles suddenly feeling lighter. But the fog of uncertainty still loomed. The conditioned response of resilience coursed through her veins. Could she really lean into this connection with Jack again? Let me help you, he urged, his voice steady. Let us figure it out together. You don't have to face this alone. A wave of warmth surged in her chest at the thought. Perhaps this was the connection she had been craving, a chance for them both to heal. But fear pinched at her throat. How could she trust? What if things went wrong again? Sarah, Jack said softly, coaxing her back to him. We can face the future together. Trust doesn't happen overnight, but this is a step toward understanding. Together, we can build something strong. A smile cracked through her doubts, a fragile flicker of hope igniting within. Okay, let us talk about everything. As they sat side by side, Sarah looked out at the stars above. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she could breathe again. But deep inside, questions still marinated. What did accepting his help mean for her independence? Would reconnecting with Jack prove a risk or a lifeline? Just then, Emma fussed in her crib, a reminder of the little life Sarah fought for. She rose to tend to her baby, her thoughts swirling like the stars. In that moment, a fresh realization washed over her. Maybe it was time to let others in. But as she cradled Emma, Jack's presence loomed nearby, his own hopes and fears mirrored in the quiet night. The path ahead remained shrouded in uncertainty, opening the door to unforeseen dilemmas waiting to unfold. Could vulnerability become their bridge to a renewed friendship, or would it tear them apart forever? With a gentle touch, Sarah rocked Emma, feeling the warmth of her daughter's small body against her chest. The rhythmic sound of the baby's breathing grounded her, tethering her to the moment despite the storm of emotions swirling inside. Jack watched her, a quiet admiration painted across his face, but also a flicker of concern in his eyes. Could he truly stand by as she battled her fears? Sarah, he said cautiously, breaking the silence. I know this isn't easy for you. Her heartbeat quickened. You have no idea, she whispered. What if we set some ground rules? He suggested, shifting on the bench lightly. Like, we define what help means. It could be just small things at first. I don't want to overwhelm you. Ground rules. The thought struck her. It was the start of constructing something new, a framework where she might find stability. Okay, she nodded, hesitantly lowering her guard. Like what? Small favors. Maybe I can babysit when you need a break. I can help with errands. Just things that make your day-to-day easier, Jack replied earnestly, his eyes never leaving hers. The proposition nestled deep within her, sparking the flicker of hope she had thought extinguished. It was true, she needed help. The thought of relinquishing some control terrified her, but maybe it was precisely what she needed. "I'd like that," she said softly, a cautious smile starting to break through. In that moment, the air crackled with potential. But just as quickly, a knot of anxiety tightened in her chest. "But Jack," she hesitated, her voice dropping to a whisper. "What happens when this grows? Will it change everything between us? Are we being smart about this?" Jack shifted slightly, letting out a breath he had been holding. "It might change everything, but isn't that worth the risk? If we're both open to it? I want to be here for you, Sarah. But I also want to respect your boundaries." A moment passed, filled with the soft sounds of the night, the rustle of leaves, the distant chirping of crickets. It felt monumental, this conversation teetering on the edge of something new. Sarah turned slightly to face him, locking her gaze with his. "And how do we know we won't hurt each other again?" Jack lowered his head, mulling over her words. "It's about communication. Honesty. Making sure we keep talking, even when things get messy. I don't want to repeat the past." She was struck by the sincerity in his voice. Each word felt like a promise, a lifeline woven with shared vulnerabilities. For a moment, she let herself imagine what it would be like, to have him close again, to share the weight of her worries. But just then, Emma let out a soft gurgle, drawing Sarah back from her hopeful thoughts. She glanced down, her heart swelling with love for her daughter. "I can't lose sight of what's most important," she murmured almost to herself. "Emma is everything, Sarah. We'll do this together for her." "You don't have to choose between us," Jack reassured her, his voice steady and warm. "Together for her," she whispered, echoing his sentiment, the idea embracing her. But looming doubt still lingered, and the path ahead felt deceptively simple. "Okay," she finally said. "Let us try. One step at a time." But as soon as those words left her lips, a flutter of fear knotted in her stomach. What if one step turned into a plunge into deeper waters than she was ready for? The night seemed to hold its breath, the weight of their choices heavy in the air. There was a chance they could find strength in each other, yet the specter of past mistakes loomed large. As Jack took her hand again, she couldn't help but wonder, could friendship withstand the tremors of newfound feelings? Or would it shatter under pressure once more, leaving them both broken apart? The gentle rhythm of the evening wrapped around them as Sarah and Jack sat in comfortable silence, holding on to the promise of a future that felt uncertain. Emma's soft coos and gurgles filled the gaps, grounding them both as they navigated the uncharted waters ahead. Sarah's heart raced, not just from the intimacy of this moment, but from the weight of everything that was now at stake. What if I'm not enough? The thought slipped through her mind like a shadow, attempting to suffocate the flickering flame of hope she had just ignited. Jack must have sensed her turmoil as he squeezed her hand, his thumb brushing softly against her knuckles. "You're enough, Sarah. You always have been." His voice had a calming lilt, like a friendly lighthouse on a stormy night. Even so, the fear pulsing through her veins whispered otherwise. "What if I can't handle this?" She admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The confession felt like exposing a vulnerability she had fought hard to protect. What if she let him down? What if her struggles outweighed their resolve? "Then we face it together." He leaned closer, his eyes holding hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "There's no pressure to be perfect. We'll figure it out, one small thing at a time." Sarah nodded, still uncertain. Yet his words had a magic that began to dissolve some of her fear. She thought again of Emma, how much brighter the world felt when they shared joy as a family, no matter how fractured it had once been. "Okay," she whispered, a fragile smile beginning to bloom. A sudden rustling in the bushes broke their moment, and Sarah instinctively tightened her hold on Emma. Jack turned his head, alert but relaxed. "Just a raccoon, I think." He chuckled, but the unexpected noise reminded her that the world outside still buzzed with its unpredictability. "Sometimes it feels like that, doesn't it?" she murmured, a hint of laughter in her tone as she referenced her chaotic life. "Trying to navigate through potential landmines. Only if you let it. We have more control than we think." Jack's breath caught slightly, revealing the gravity behind his attempt to lighten the mood. His sincerity sent warmth coursing through her, making her wonder if maybe, just maybe, they could build that future together. Over the next hour, they drifted into a dialogue filled with tentative hopes and shared laughter, each small revelation drawing them closer. Jack spoke of his ambitions, his hopes beyond work, and how he wanted to lend himself to this partnership more than anything else. In turn, Sarah found herself spilling her fears, opening a door she had kept shut for so long, wanting to show him the rawness of her reality. But just as comfort began to blanket her worries, the ring of Sarah's phone cut through the night. The tone was sharp, jarring the call not from the comforting known, but from an unknown number. Sarah's heart sank. Unwanted dread coursed through her. "Do you want to get that?" Jack asked, his brow furrowed with concern. She hesitated, feeling a pang of frustration. "It's probably just a telemarketer." "Maybe, but what if it's something important?" He pressed gently, his tone inviting yet firm. Gingerly, she picked up the phone, heartbeat racing as she hit accept. "Hello?" she said, bracing herself for whatever news awaited her on the other end. The voice that met her was hurried and crisp. "Is this Sarah Henderson? You need to hear what's happening with your application." As Sarah listened intently, a chill crept over her, filling the spaces between what she had hoped for and the relentless grip of reality. Jack watched her closely, the expression on his face shifting from curiosity to something akin to alarm. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern bubbling up within him. The news rattled in her mind, leaving behind a swirl of confusion and fear. "I don't know yet," she replied, her voice shaking. "But I think it's going to change everything." Jack leaned in, urgency in his eyes. "Sarah, let's talk about it. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. You're not alone." But the words hung in the air like a fragile promise, teetering on the edge of something larger than herself. What if this was the moment where everything changed, as she feared? Or was it a chance to reclaim her power? The night felt heavy, tightening its grip around her, as she wondered if they would rise to face this challenge, or if it would break them apart once again. Sarah's breath felt caught in her throat, the weight of the caller's words reverberating through her. She could sense Jack's gaze, burning with concern, yet the noise faded to a dull buzz as her mind raced ahead, conjuring scenarios that sent panic shooting through her veins. "Do you think it's about the job?" Jack asked, his voice edged with a mix of hope and dread. "The one you applied for?" She nodded, unable to find her words. Her application had promised a fresh start, a chance for independence. But now the uncertainty loomed over her like storm clouds threatening to break. "I didn't think they'd call so soon," she managed to say, forcing the words through her trembling lips. Minutes felt like hours as she recalled everything she had put into that application: the late nights, the endless revisions, and the small prayers sent into the void. What if they're saying they found someone else? Then we regroup. You're not defined by this one opportunity. Jack's attempt to reassure her wrapped around her like a warm woolen blanket, though the chill of doubt had sunken deep. The caller continued, the words fuzzy and indistinct in her mind until one phrase rang clearly in her ears: "Funding for your project is at risk due to unexpected budget changes." The mention of risk clawed at her heart. "What does that mean?" she asked, her voice a whisper of vulnerability. "Your application, it's being reviewed for possible cuts. But if you want, I can guide you through it," the voice said. "We believe in your work. There's still a chance." Her heart hammered in her chest as she absorbed the implications. Cuts? Did that mean her journey was already shaky before it had even begun? Sarah? Jack's touch broke her trance, his fingers wrapping gently around her wrist. What are they saying? They're saying that my funding might not come through. Silence settled between them like a thick fog. Moments like these were the ones that shifted everything. It was real, it was here. The gravity of it was crushing. What am I supposed to do? She breathed, shame mingling with her fear. First, breathe. Jack's voice broke through her panic. You recommended focus. Let us take a step back. What are your options? Options. She could feel the walls closing in. She had anticipated potential struggles, sure, but hearing it laid out so starkly made it all seem so daunting. The weight of her ambitions crashed around her, heavy with implications. And then a thought, simple yet profound, emerged from the chaos. I can't let Emma down. I need to be strong for her, she whispered, feeling suddenly fragile against that truth. That's it, Jack said. You fight. We'll figure this out. You'll advocate for your project. And if it means reaching out to the network, we can do it together. Fear shifted slightly under the promise of partnership, but uncertainty still simmered in her chest. Could they tackle this mountain? As they sat together, Emma nestled in Sarah's arms, she felt the smallest flicker of determination ignite within her. I don't want to lose this chance. I've worked so hard, she said, the fire beginning to glow brighter. Then let us fight for it, Jack encouraged, a fierce glint in his eyes. Together. In that moment, she realized that while the path ahead was unclear and fraught with challenges, they could pace behind each other, fortified by trust and shared purpose. But just as hope began to bloom, Jack's phone buzzed with a notification. He glanced at the screen, instantly paling. Sarah's stomach dropped with anticipation and dread. What is it? She breathed. It's regarding the company, he said, his brow furrowing in a way that seemed to entangle their worries into one messy knot. As the weight of their individual struggles collided, Sarah clenched Emma closer, uncertain how this storm would play out. Would they navigate this together, or would the tension split them apart? With hearts racing, they both leaned in, waiting for Jack's next words that could send them hurtling into yet another spiral of uncertainty. What else was about to change? Jack's expression shifted, revealing a mix of confusion and alarm. Sarah, he hesitated, as if wrestling with what to say next. He ran a hand through his hair, something he always did when he felt cornered. I think we need to talk about the layoffs. Layoffs? She echoed, her heart pounding louder with every syllable. What do you mean? Some key projects are being cut across the board, and I don't think they're going to spare anyone, Jack admitted, his voice low. He looked out the window as if hoping to escape the reality looming inside. No. That can't be. She clutched Emma tighter, her mind racing to comprehend this new layer of turmoil. Are you saying you might be at risk, too? He turned to her, eyes dark with concern. It's not just me. It's the entire marketing team, people I care about. They're not gonna make it. Her chest felt constricted, as if someone had tightened a belt around her heart. The weight of two potential losses, her project and Jack's job, threatened to crush her spirit. What are we going to do? She asked, voice trembling, her eyes brimming with tears. Jack exhaled slowly, drawing in strength from a source she couldn't see. We've been through tough times before, Sarah. We'll find a way to get through this one, too. Determination flared briefly, but then doubt crept back in like a shadow. But if the project funding is cut and you lose your job, she couldn't finish the sentence. The thought was too heavy, too final. Jack stepped closer, reaching for her hand. We need to talk to people. Reach out. I could look for new opportunities while you fight for your funding. We'll support each other just like we always have. The uncertainty of their plans settled like fog around them. She glanced down at Emma, who had fallen asleep peacefully against her chest. That innocence reminded her of all she was fighting for. She shook her head slowly, feeling the desire to shield her daughter from this chaos. I can't let her see us falling apart. Jack's gaze softened, his fingers brushing against the back of Emma's head. But she needs to see resilience. It'll teach her strength. What's that saying? Fall 7 times, stand up 8. More like we're falling, and there's nothing to catch us, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. We will catch each other when it counts, Jack replied, squeezing her hand as if sealing some unsaid promise between them. You've got to believe that. Sarah closed her eyes, battling the swirling doubts within. When she opened them again, she looked at him. So we're really doing this together? Absolutely, he affirmed, a genuine smile breaking through the tension. In every way that counts. Just then, the buzzing of Jack's phone shattered the moment. He glanced at the screen, and the color drained from his face once more. It's the boss, he murmured, frowning. What does it say? She pressed, holding on to Emma and to Hope. Jack stared at the phone, panic mixing with disbelief. It's an invitation to a meeting, he started, but stopped short, something else catching his eye. Oh, no. Sarah. You need to see this. He turned the phone toward her, and her breath hitched. The notification read, urgent meeting, department cuts discussion, immediate action required. The weight of their struggles grew heavier, drawing them into a shared apprehension. What did this mean for them? Would their battle for hope continue into an abyss of despair? As anxiety tightened its grip on their hearts, Sarah's thoughts flickered back to the project, to Emma. She had to act. Frantic yet resolute, she turned to Jack. We can't wait. I need to prepare for what's coming. I need to do it now. With resolve settling in, they both took a deep breath, steeling themselves for the storm ahead, their lives still teetering on the edge of everything they had worked for. But before they could formulate a plan, another notification pinged on Jack's phone, its importance capable of shifting their reality once again. Sarah's heart raced with suspicion and fear. What now? As they leaned in to read the message, an unsettling feeling crept in. What would this new development mean for their future? Jack's gaze flicked back to the phone, and tension rippled between them like electricity. He opened the message slowly, his mind racing with possibilities. What could it possibly say that would change everything again? Sarah, he started, his voice barely a whisper. This is from a different sender. It's from the CEO. Her heart skipped. What does it say? He squinted at the screen, the words blurring momentarily as his thoughts spiraled. We acknowledge the rising tension around project funding and layoffs. I will meet with department leads to discuss all options. Your teams are invaluable. Relief washed over her like a tide. Could it be that they weren't entirely doomed? So, he's willing to fight for us? Jack nodded, but his brow knitted in concern. But it doesn't eliminate the threat. This could just be a band-aid on a much deeper wound, right? Sarah frowned, moving Emma's hair away from her face. But we have to seize this moment. If they're willing to listen, then we need to be there with a plan. Jack agreed, but she could see the worry in his eyes. What if it's not enough, Sarah? They might just use this as an excuse to say goodbye to the rest of us. A deep breath fought its way from her chest. She was terrified, but she'd faced fear before. I refuse to let that happen to us. We owe it to Emma and to each other. Jack looked at her, admiration flaring in his eyes. You're right. If we go in strong. What do we need? We need data. We need success stories. We have to show them that cutting us means cutting potential, she said, each word igniting her passion. She crossed her arms, determination settling over her like armor. And it's time I finally reached out to those contacts I've been too scared to confront. Jack's expression shifted from uncertainty to an almost fiery resolve. "I'll come with you. 2 heads are better than 1, and we can tackle the rest together." A flicker of hope ignited within her. "We can present it as a collaborative effort. The team shows unity, and it'll make them think twice before making any harsh decisions." Emma stirred slightly as if sensing the intensity in the air. A small hand peeked out from under the blanket. Sarah smiled down at her, feeling the warmth of that innocent heartbeat. The little girl was her anchor, and she would move mountains for her. "What time is the meeting?" Sarah asked, realizing she needed every moment to prepare. Jack glanced back at his phone. "It's in about an hour. That doesn't leave us much time." "Okay." Sarah shook off a wave of panic. "Let's divide tasks. You reach out to finance contacts, I'll contact marketing allies and see if anyone can help us bolster our case." Jack nodded, the fire in his eyes mimicking her own. "I love this. We'll be ready for whatever comes our way." But just as she felt a newfound strength building within, Jack's phone buzzed again, this time with even brighter urgency. "Jack?" she urged, sensing the tension returning. "What is it?" He scrolled through the message, his expression darkening. "It's another invite. Team restructuring. Immediate response required." Her heart plummeted. "They're moving fast, too fast. Maybe it's about the meeting we're preparing for?" Jack suggested, although the doubt in his voice betrayed him. Sarah gripped his arm tightly, fear coiling in her stomach. What would they face in the meeting? Would their efforts be in vain? "Whatever it is, we can face it together," Jack promised, but uncertainty lingered heavily. Together. She held on to that word like a lifeline. But deep down, she sensed the storm was just beginning, and the most difficult choices might be yet to come. What would they decide when the chips were down? Would they be able to save everything they loved? Jack's phone buzzed loudly, snapping Sarah back to the reality that loomed over them. The message's urgency felt like an alarm bell ringing in her ears. "We should head to the office early," she suggested, adrenaline now fueling her drive. Jack nodded, but his face was a mask of concern. "Do you think we're ready? What if they use this meeting to brush us aside once and for all? They won't. Not if we have what they need. That's our power," she asserted, determination pushing away doubt. "We can make them see our value." With Emma nestled safely in his arms, Jack planted a kiss on the girl's forehead. "You're right. But we can't walk in empty-handed. We need to show them we're not just workers, we're a team. We matter." Sarah felt a surge of pride watching Jack interact with Emma. Tensions faded for a moment as she reveled in the parental warmth radiating between them. But deep down, she also felt the weight of the looming threat. Grabbing her bag, Sarah began to grab the essential things: a laptop, charge cords, legal documents, and notes on past project successes. "I'll draft a quick outline of what we can present. Something that highlights our accomplishments, quantifiable data, real stories from clients. I'll start here," she murmured, flipping open her laptop. Jack scanned through contact lists on his phone, fingers flying over the screen. "I'll reach out to people we've worked with closely. They might have insight or even be willing to provide testimonials that emphasize our impact." As they scrambled around the room, Sarah's heart pulsed with hope. Each word typed and each message sent felt like a weapon against the corporate storm threatening to wipe them out. But as the clock ticked, so did their anxiety. Jack, trying to maintain focus, paused for a moment. "You know, I didn't think we could rally like this. I was scared for both us and Emma. What if this was all a bad dream? You know, one where we wake up, and everything is back to normal?" Sarah joked softly, hoping to lighten the mood. Jack chuckled, but it was tinged with a touch of sadness. "I wish it were that simple. But we're tougher than we realize. We've come too far." The laughter faded, replaced by an uncomfortable silence as they shared the realization of how much depended on the upcoming meeting. Every step they took brought them closer to the unknown. Finally, the moment arrived where they had to leave. Emma was still asleep, blissfully unaware of the strain on her parents. As Jack gently placed her back onto the couch, she stirred but didn't wake. He leaned over, brushing her hair back tenderly. "Whatever happens today, we'll keep fighting." For her, Sarah reminded him, her voice steady yet tinged with emotion. "Yeah, for her," Jack echoed, squeezing her hand. They walked out, determination carved in their expressions, ready to scale the corporate battleground. But as they reached the lobby, another notification buzzed from Jack's phone. His brows furrowed as he read it, a message from a colleague hinting at an unexpected twist in the restructuring plan. "What is it?" Sarah asked, her heart racing. Jack's face turned pale. "It looks like they're considering a major shift, a potential buyout." Her stomach dropped. A buyout? That changes everything. As they stepped outside into the crisp air, the weight of uncertainty surrounded them like a fog. What did this mean for their jobs? For Emma? Would they lose everything they fought so hard for? Deep down, Sarah knew this was just the beginning of a battle that would test everything they believed in. And in that moment, standing at the edge of the corporate world, the true fight for their futures loomed large ahead of them. Would they stand tall against the storm, or would the winds of change sweep them away? The sound of the bustling city hit them as they stepped outside, a stark contrast to their mounting anxiety. For a moment, Sarah paused, breathing in the cool air, searching for clarity. Jack followed suit, his phone tightly gripped, scanning the streets filled with uncertain pedestrians heading to their own battles. "They can't do this to us, not after everything," Jack said, breaking the silence. His voice wavered, a mix of frustration and fear. "It's business, Jack." "It's not personal," she replied, but even as the words left her lips, doubt gnawed at her. Was it really just business when it felt like their lives were on the line? They hurried toward the office, taking the more direct route. The lunch crowd buzzed around them, oblivious to the turmoil brewing in their hearts. As they approached the building, Sarah glanced at Jack, hoping for a reassuring smile, but all she saw was apprehension. "What if they decide to cut us loose?" he murmured, gripping her hand tighter. "They won't." "Not while we have the data we've gathered. Those testimonials, our work speaks for itself." Sarah aimed to be strong, but the flicker of uncertainty in her own voice made her anxious. They entered the office, the familiar scent of coffee and polished floors greeting them. The hum of chatter and keyboards muted as they made their way to the conference room. The faces of colleagues, a mix of camaraderie and concern, watched them, and a few offered nods of encouragement. "Today's the day," Sarah said to herself, but when she saw Emma's picture taped to her laptop, it struck her this wasn't just about work. It was about family, their future. It was about fighting for the life they envisioned. Jack pulled up a chair next to her. "I texted a few clients, they're on standby. If we need to call in support, we can." A glint of resolve shone in his eyes, and she felt a rush of gratitude for his unwavering determination. The minutes crawled by, each tick of the clock magnifying their anxiety. Then, the final call to the meeting room came. With each step down the bright hallway, Sarah felt the pulse of her heartbeat rising. As they entered, the atmosphere shifted. The executives sat like sentinels, their expressions unreadable. In that room, the stakes felt impossibly high. "Thank you for coming," the lead executive said, his tone neutral. "We're here to discuss the future of the department." Sarah and Jack exchanged a glance, a blend of fear and fierce determination. They were ready to voice their value, to plead their case. But as the conversation unfolded, something felt off. They started tossing around terms like restructuring and realigning assets, each word sending a chill down Sarah's spine. When they began discussing potential layoffs, Jack's jaw clenched. She could almost feel the weight of every word dragging at his shoulders. But you have us all wrong, Sarah interjected, surprising herself with her boldness. We've built something great here. Let us show you our impact. She felt her voice quivering as she flipped open her laptop, anxiety coursing through her like electricity. She displayed numbers, client stories, and testimonials. The room fell silent, the executives listening more thoughtfully now. But just when she felt momentum building, a voice interrupted, sharp and dismissive. This is all very nice, but we're ultimately considering a buyout. We need to think about the bigger company goals. The air sucked out of Sarah's lungs. The mentioning of a buyout loomed like a specter, shattering the fragile hope she had nurtured. She locked eyes with Jack. They had anticipated many outcomes, but now they were cornered. Wait, what does this mean for the team? Jack asked, his voice steady even though his gaze betrayed worry. It means job security is uncertain. We're recalibrating how we utilize resources. It may lead to consolidations. Each word fell like heavy stones, and Sarah could feel the ground shifting beneath her. Her heart raced, imagining Emma's future, and all the dreams they had clung to. Could they truly fight against this tide? Before Jack could respond, another executive's voice chimed in. However, if the buyout goes through, we need guidance on how best to integrate teams. Having strong advocates like you could help, and we might need your expertise during the transition. Sarah caught a glimmer of opportunity in the chaos. But was it worth it if they were to lose everything they had fought for in the process? Jack's hand found hers under the table, grounding her as uncertainty grappled with potential hope. As they wrapped up the meeting, one thing was clear. They had only begun to scratch the surface of this fight. Would they be able to leverage this situation to secure their future, or were they standing on the precipice of their downfall? The gathering storm was tightening its grip, and they had yet to discover how far they were willing to go. The next morning, the sun's rays filtered through the window, casting softness over Sarah's room. It felt surreal, this unfolding reality. The chatter of birds outside echoed the uncertainty that loomed in her mind. Jack was already awake, scrolling through updates from the office. She could see the tension in his posture. "Hey," she whispered, still caught in the remnants of sleep, and walked over to sit beside him on the bed. "Hey." His voice was heavy with unshared worries. "They're discussing the buyout with potential stakeholders today. I'm not sure how we'll figure this out." Sarah glanced at Emma, who was giggling, blissfully unaware of the world spinning around her. "We'll figure this out." She believed it, needed to believe it. Jack turned to her, his brow creased with concern. "But what if it doesn't work out? If they make cuts?" "No," Sarah interrupted, a wave of determination coursing through her. "We can't think that way. We have to fight for our team, and for Emma's future. We can leverage the influence we have now." His eyes brightened slightly. "What do you mean? What if we use our current situation to drive a narrative? We can reach out to those we know, get testimonials that paint a picture of the team's impact as a family unit, the work we've done, how we've navigated challenges together. We're more than just numbers to them." He nodded slowly, understanding dawning on him. "Like we're not just trying to save ourselves, but the entire department?" "Exactly," she affirmed, her heart racing with a mix of nerves and hope. "And we present it as a unified front. Show them that letting us go would be a grave mistake." Jack reached for her hand, squeezing it firmly. "I love this. Let us pull in every resource we can. We can make our case so compelling they won't be able to ignore us." They got to work quickly, each section of their plan falling into place like pieces of a puzzle. Their phones buzzed, and they connected with colleagues and friends, rallying support. Each story they collected resonated, painting a vivid picture of the strength that lay in their unity. As they became absorbed in their work, moments of joy surfaced. Laughter erupted as Emma did her best to crawl, her tiny fists grasping at air, and they leaned into her enthusiasm. "You're already a little champion. Jack exclaimed, his voice filled with warmth. Just like her mom and dad, Sarah smiled, her heart swelling with pride. The warmth radiating from Jack and the thought of their little girl bloomed a sense of courage that propelled them through the day. As noon approached, they stood on the precipice of what felt like a monumental moment. The meeting was set for that afternoon, and the energy in the office was charged with palpable tension. When they entered the conference room, the air crackled with unspoken fears and veiled hopes. The executives were seated, eyeing them with a blend of skepticism and curiosity, and Sarah could feel her heart quicken. "We wanted to take a moment to share what we've contributed to this company," Jack started, his voice steady as he made eye contact with their audience. Sarah jumped in, fueled by the courage that coursed through her. "We're not just employees here, we're a community. Each project we've immersed ourselves in connects with our clients on a human level, forging bonds that go beyond numbers. Losing us would mean losing that connection." With every word, she painted a picture of collaboration, heart, and mutual support. Jack leaned in, echoing her sentiments, showcasing statistics, emphasizing the unique culture they had built. They presented their collected testimonials, voices overlapping like a chorus offering evidence of their achievements. The longer they spoke, the more tangible the collective spirit of their team felt. And just as she saw eyes beginning to soften, the lead executive interrupted, "We appreciate your passion," but panic threatened to pull Sarah under, and with desperation, she pressed on. "But the company needs to understand this isn't merely about saving jobs, it's about preserving the soul of this organization. Each of us strives to move beyond numbers, we challenge ourselves to uplift one another." Silence enveloped the room, thick with weighty consideration. It was a moment that felt suspended in time, where space for doubt continued to linger. Jack's hand shot out to lift their shared energy. "If we band together, we can change the narrative. If the buyout goes through, we want to be the voices that shape its execution." Finally, the air shifted. A glimmer of understanding danced in the lead executive's eyes. "You both have been exceptional advocates for your team. We see value in this thread of community you've woven. We'll schedule a follow-up meeting with investors. Keep the narrative alive." The wave of relief was overwhelming, the intensity of their fears seemed to dissipate in that moment. They had taken a stand not just for themselves but for the lives intertwined in their shared journey. Exiting the conference room, Sarah felt the air inside her lungs expand. They had fought for what they believed in and could now breathe in the freedom it offered. She glanced at Jack, shared joy radiating between them. "We did it together," she whispered, her heart swelling with newfound strength. Jack smiled back, an expression of triumph brightening his face. "For us and for Emma." As they left the office, Sarah felt lighter, hope blossoming anew. Sometimes, vulnerability leads to strength, and together, they could face anything. Emma crawled towards them, bright and giggling, perfectly capturing what mattered most. Their family was resilient, their love undeniable. This moment was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with hope and the courage to reclaim their dreams. You need to subscribe now to make sure you're with us as we uncover every exclusive story that transforms lives. Leave a like now, because each click adds fuel to our storytelling engine. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending, we want to hear from you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support is what keeps this community alive.